Gopi Jana Vallabha Nandana Yamuna Tira Jaya Punjabi Gopi Jana Vallabha Yashoda Nandana Yamuna Tira Jaya Radha Punjabi Gopi Jana Vallabha Yashoda Nandana Yamuna Tira Jaya Radha Punjabi Sri Srimad is Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Grantharad Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Oops. No, I bought a new one. Really good, dude. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 O my Lord Sri Krishna, Son of Vasudeva, O all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Translation and commentary by Srila Prabhupada, Canto 4, The Creation of the Fourth Order, Chapter 27. Attack by Chandavega on the city of Paranjan. Today's text number 11. Ije cha kratubhir ghorair dikshita pashumarakai devan pitrin bhutapatin nana kamo yata bhavan ije cha kratubhir ghorair dikshita pashumarakai devan pitrin bhutapatin nana kamo yata bhavan ije cha kratubhir ghorair dikshita pashumarakai devan pitrin bhutapatin nana kamo yata bhavan. Yeah?
Ije chakra to bear daughter. Dikshita Pashumarakai. Devan Pitrin Bhutapatin. Nana Kamo Yata Bhavan.
Nobody else?
Ije chakratubhir gorai Dikshita Pashumarakai Devan Pitrim Bhutapatin Nana Kamo Yatha Bhavan.
Word for word. EJ. He worshipped. Cha. Also. Kratubihi. By sacrifices. Gorai. Ghastly. Dikshataha. Inspired. Pashumarakai. Wherein poor animals are killed. Devan. The demigods. Pitrin. Forefathers. Bhutapatin. Great leaders of human society. Nana. Various. Kamaha. Having desires. Yata. Like. Bhavan. You. Translation. The great sage Narada continued, my dear king Prachinibarhishat, like you, King Paranjan also became implicated in so many desires. Thus he worshipped demigods, forefathers, and social leaders with various sacrifices, which were all very ghastly, because they were inspired by the desire to kill animals. Please repeat. The great sage Narada continued.
Great sage Narada continued.
My dear King Prachini Barhishat,
My dear King Prajnaparsha,
like you, King Paranjan,
like you, King Prajna,
also became implicated in so many desires.
also became integrated so many desires.
Thus he worshipped demigods,
Thus he worshipped demigods,
forefathers and social leaders,
forefathers and social leaders,
with various sacrifices,
with various sacrifices,
which were all very ghastly because
which are all very ghastly because
they were inspired by the desire to kill animals.
they were inspired by the desire to kill animals.
Srila Prabhupada's extensive purport. It's about a 3-page purport. Purport. In this verse, the great sage Narada discloses that the character of King Paranjan was being described to give lessons to King Prachani Barhishat. Actually, the entire description was figuratively describing the activities of King Prachani Barhishat. In this verse, Narada frankly says, quote, like you, Yata Bhavan, which indicates that King Paranjan is none other than King Prachani Barhishat himself. Being a great Vaishnav, Narada Muni wanted to stop animal killing and sacrifices. He knew that if he tried to stop the king from performing sacrifices, the king would not hear him. Therefore, he is describing the life of Paranjan. But in this verse, he first discloses the intention. Although not fully, by saying, like you. Generally, the karmis who are attached to increasing descendants have to perform so many sacrifices and worship so many demigods for future generations, as well as to satisfy so many leaders, politicians, philosophers, and scientists, to make things go on properly for future generations. The so-called scientists are very eager to see that future generations will live very comfortably, and as such, they are trying to find different means of generating energy to drive, Prabhupada says, locomotives. He means trains, right? Locomotive. To drive locomotives, cars, airplanes, and so on. Now they are exhausting the petroleum supply. These activities are described in the Bhagavad Gita 241. Everybody? Yavasayatmika buddhi rekeha kurunandana bahushakha yanantascha buddhayo vyavasayanam. Quote, those who are on the spiritual path are resolute in purpose, and their aim is one. O beloved child of the Kurus, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many-branched. Unquote. Actually, those who are in knowledge of everything are determined to execute Krishna consciousness. But those who are rascals, mudha, sinners, dushkritina, and the lowest of mankind, naradamaha, who are bereft of all intelligence, mayaya parittagyana, and those who take shelter of the demoniac way of life, asarang bhavamashrita, are disinterested in Krishna consciousness. As such, they become implicated and take on so many activities. Most of these activities center around the killing of animals. See, Prabhupada's really hitting on this. Modern civilization is centered around animal killing. It's quite a bold proclamation. Karmis are advertising that without eating meat, their vitamin value or vitality will be reduced. So to keep oneself fit to work hard, one must eat meat. And to digest meat, one must drink liquor. And to keep the balance of drinking wine and eating meat, one must have sufficient sexual intercourse to keep fit, to work very hard like an ass. There are two ways of animal killing. One way is in the name of religious sacrifices. All the religions of the world, except the Buddhists, have a program for killing animals in places of worship. According to Vedic civilization, the animal eaters are recommended to sacrifice a goat in the temple of Kali under certain restrictive rules and regulations and eat the flesh. Similarly, they are recommended to drink wine by worshiping the goddess Chandika. The purpose is restriction. People have given up all this restriction. Now they are regularly opening wine distilleries and slaughterhouses and indulging in drinking alcohol and eating flesh. A Vaishnava Acharya like Narada Muni knows very well that persons engaged in such animal killing in the name of religion are certainly becoming involved in the cycle of birth and death, forgetting the real aim of life, to go back home, back to Godhead. Thus, the great sage Narada, while instructing Srimad Bhagavatam to Vyas Muni, condemned the karma kanda, fruitive activities mentioned in the Vedas. Narada told Vyas, Jagupsitang dharma krite nushashata svabhava raktasya mahangatikramaha yad bhakyato dharma iti tarakstito namanyate tasya nivarnanam janaha. Quote, the people in general are naturally inclined to enjoy, and you have encouraged them in that way in the name of religion. This is verily condemned and is quite unreasonable. Because they are guided under your instructions, they will accept such activities in the name of religion and will hardly care for prohibitions. Bhagavatam 1.5.15. Srila Narada Muni chastised Vyasadeva for compiling so many Vedic supplementary scriptures which are all intended for guiding the people in general. Narada Muni condemned these scriptures because they do not mention direct devotional service. Under Narada's instructions, direct worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as described in the Srimad Bhagavatam, was set forth by Vyasadeva. The conclusion is that neither the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, nor his devotee ever sanctions animal killing in the name of religion. Indeed, Krishna incarnated himself as Lord Buddha to put an end to animal killing in the name of religion. Animal sacrifice under the name of religion is conducted by the influence of tamagun, the mode of ignorance, as indicated in the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Would you like to say it? Ya dharmam adharmam cha karyam cha karyameva cha apayatavat prajanati buddhiksa partha rajasi adharmam dharmamiti ya manyate tamasavrata sarvarthan viparitangscha buddhiksa partha tamasi. Quote, that understanding which cannot distinguish between the religious way of life and the irreligious, between action that should not be done, that should be done, and action that should not be done. That imperfect understanding, O son of Pritha, is in the mode of passion. That understanding which considers irreligion to be religion and religion to be irreligion under the spell of illusion and darkness, and strives always in the wrong direction, O Partha, is in the mode of ignorance. Such a scientific understanding of, so-called religion. Those who are involved in the mode of ignorance manufacture religious systems for killing animals. Again, this is such a statement, huh? If you're in the mode of ignorance, you're going to justify it by manufacturing religious systems for killing animals. Actually, dharma is transcendental. As Lord Sri Krishna teaches, we must give up all other systems of religion and simply surrender unto him, sarva dharman parityaja. Thus, the Lord and his devotees and representatives teach the transcendental dharma, which does not allow animal killing at all. At the present moment, it is the greatest misfortune. Prabhupada takes a final swipe here at Vivekananda. At the present moment, it is the greatest misfortune that in India, many so-called missionary workers, guess who, are spreading irreligion in the name of religion. They claim an ordinary human being to be God and recommend meat eating for everyone, including so-called sannyasis. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master is kindly opening my eyes with the torch of knowledge. For my respectful obeisance again to him. Born in the darkest ignorance, and even before I was born, due to the misfortune of the present age, I was also eating meat in the womb, drinking alcohol in the womb, right? Smoking in the womb. Gee, wow. I mean, even before we're born, we're trained up, we're conditioned because people just don't know any better. Okay. Yeah, so this whole chapter, attack by Chandavega on the city of Puranjan. So that's just coming. This is just the first 13 verses, or what is it? Yeah. Well, the first 12 verses, this is text 11, are just describing how Puranjan and Puranjani enjoyed, quote unquote, enjoyed their senses. But the bill hasn't quite come in yet. And the bill comes in the succeeding verses. We'll start to see, starting with text 13, how we're attacked. You know, the more we misuse our youthful energy, which, I mean, that's just how we're trained. We're trained to just use our youthful energy and sense gratification. The more we do that, then the more we suffer in old age. Even materially, what to speak of the karma we're accruing while we do that. So, in today's text, Narada Muni is just laying it out straight for King Prachati Barhisha. You know, he's been telling the story, right? He's been describing the situation of Barhisha indirectly through the allegory. But now we're just letting him have it. He's saying, well, not completely, as I'm going to quote Vishwanath. Vishwanath's purport is direct. Well, anyway, the great sage Narada continued, "My dear King Prachati Barhishat, like you." So it's still a little, it's not you, but it's like you. Right? King Puranjan also became implicated in so many desires. Right? Okay. Now here's what, let's see. Okay, so here's what Vishwanath says. He says, taking the part of Narada, he says, "There is only one meaning here. I am telling a story about you." It's really in their face, right? And then I say, not just like you, but you. So the sadhu he cuts with the pure blade of compassion. So it takes only a sadhu can do this. Like if I want to wake up somebody, but if there's, if my heart is also full of some envy or spite, or I'm not doing out of compassion, then it won't. There's going to be some poison on that blade. There's going to be some, contamination on the blade, and it won't work. I mean, it'll work a little bit maybe, but it won't work the way the sadhu's blade works. When Prabhupada would blast us, we accepted it because we knew he was coming from pure love. He loved us, and therefore he blasted us when we were just nonsense. Yeah. I think I mentioned in the previous class. In August 74, when Prabhupada was really ill with malaria. Yeah. So ill that he said we should have 24-hour kirtan. It was like, wow. Just like when he had this heart attack / stroke in 67, he told the devotees. He taught them in the Shringa prayer, actually. That's what he introduced the Shringa prayer. So in August 74, he got really bad with malaria and also shruti-kirti. And then, his temperature was right. We were getting these reports, the Prabhupada's temperature is, it's approaching, death. So anyway, we had 24-hour kirtan, and then finally the fever broke. And then, only then did Prabhupada say, I am ill because, let's see if I can get the words exactly right. 80%, it was some really high percent of the leaders, he was saying, are not following their initiation vows. Wow. So everybody, when Prabhupada said that, then everybody went, whoa, we're killing our spiritual man. What is this? And we gotta, so it was accepted. It wasn't just Prabhupada was saying that, to say something or saying it, what are you're killing me. He was just saying, this is what are you doing? Okay. So out of compassion, Narada is telling the king to give up the karma kanda path, which also involves animal killing. Now, at least in karma kanda, Prabhupada mentions Chandi, drinking wine, and Durga, for a goat. And the whole purpose of sacrifice is to restrict. Just like to sell alcoholic beverage, you have to get licensed, right? Is it still like that? Yeah.
Okay, yes. Okay.
When I was growing up, they call them ABC stores. Do they still have them? Yeah. Yeah, you couldn't just, because during, the 20s, there was prohibition, and it made it worse. They tried to strike out alcohol, and it made it worse because people were sneaking it all over the place, and there were, speakeasies and places. You had to say the password, speak easy, right? And you had to whisper it, and then you could come in if you knew the password to this place where you could drink. So, the whole purpose of karma kanda is to restrict these things. But now, so anyway, Prabhupada in the purport, he contrasts this Vedic thing, the Vedic idea of sacrifice, with modern killing, which is just wanton, unrestricted vikarma, like, slaughterhouses, which gives hellish karma. And it also ruins people. Meat eating actually ruins our health. It ruins our health. It's so much heart disease. It ruins our health. And then even the people that participate in, did anybody ever go to a slaughterhouse? We won't get into it. I did. I did once to write an article for Back to Godhead. In 1984, I wrote a piece called "You Can Talk of Peace Till the Cows Come Home." And I knew that if this piece was going to be effective, I had to visit a slaughterhouse. So I did. With my wife and I, we went to north of Philly. There was a slaughterhouse. We were living in Gitanagari, so north of Philly, there was the largest slaughterhouse, the most prolific. They were killing the most cows of any place east of the Mississippi, in Sutterton, Pennsylvania. And they were so brazen. That they had a tour department. You could take a tour and see the slaughter. But you did have an option. I have to be fair, the tour guide said, would you like the tour with or without the kill? You didn't have to see them actually killing the cow. So I took a deep breath. I said, with the kill. Whoa. Okay, I won't describe, what we saw. But anyway, it was so bad, it was so obvious just by seeing and smelling and hearing what was going on in that slaughterhouse, that this is why human beings suffer so much in the Kali Yuga. It became palpable. The senses were assaulted by all the cries and the smells and and what we saw, especially the guy who, how did I describe it? His eyes were like black pools. It was like he had no feeling. He was killing over 100 cows an hour. Yeah, and then the mechanized, after how their cows are rendered after that. And then, if you want, at the end of the tour, you can go to the cafeteria and eat what you just saw. Oh, God. Oh, boy. Isn't that great? Isn't modern capitalistic society wonderful? Whew. Yeah. So, well, I didn't want to say too much. Okay, you asked. A sliding bolt pistol. It wasn't a gun. It was a pistol that slides a bolt that just renders them brain dead. But guess what? They weren't dead. Yeah. Ooh. That was the worst part of it, to see how they weren't really dead. They were being rendered alive. Okay. Yeah, so it ruins us. And then around the slaughterhouse, you know what there were? Ringing the slaughterhouse. There couldn't be enough of them. There were bars. So after people got out of the slaughterhouse, they just drink themselves into oblivion because it was so hellish. Just like Prabhupada said on the saintly person is blessing 4 kinds of people. And then the butcher, ma jiva ma mara. You don't live, you don't die. Because living, your life is hellish. What you do is, Prabhupada says, the blood stain, the ghastly scene. Whew. And then when you die, you're really in for it because of all the sinful acts. You're going to be butchered like that too. So, ma jiva don't live, ma mara don't die. That's the blessing for that kind of a person. So yeah, they were just because, and it was very common. Because I was asking the tour guide, why are there so many bars around? Oh, because it's hard work. It's hard to live to work in this kind of atmosphere. So they just go and they drink themselves into oblivion just to forget what they've been participating in for the last 8 hours or whatever the shift was, Yeah. And then, and usually people, the turnover is very high. You see in the windows of places we're now hiring because people generally, they have psychological problems doing this kind of work. They can't take it anymore. So as Damodar said to me yesterday in another context, Prabhupada's purport could have been a commentary into what's going on today. It's so right on. So, yeah, look at this. Hellish karma. Yeah. Now, last Saturday, and I think this Saturday I'll probably be doing it too, as an encore, I had a Zoom call with some Russian devotees. And the subject of the call was, how can we increase our love for Lord Chaitanya? And then after that, there was Q&A. And it was a ladies' sangha, but it was called by a couple, a husband and a wife. Russian Vaishnavi Sangha in this little town called Krasnodar on the Black Sea. And so we did that. We talked about Lord Chaitanya's increasing love for Lord Chaitanya, and then there was Q&A. And a lot of the ladies on the Zoom that I could see in the little pictures, they had husbands or didn't have husbands, or they had husbands who weren't devotees. And this one lady, her name was Mahima, like the glories, Mahima, told how her Muslim husband wanted her to cook meat because they were married. I think they came married, and then she was becoming a devotee, and so he was attached to her, but he also felt like he was losing her because she was changing her diet and she wouldn't cook meat for him anymore, and now she's refusing, and he's becoming angry. So what to do? She was saying in Russian, and this devotee Sankarshan, the husband of his wife, the husband was translating for me, and she was asking, "What do I do?" And so I said, "Well," and he didn't want to hear anything. He didn't want to hear philosophy either. He didn't want to hear about, that there's 7 kinds of people who get the bad karma when it's not just the person who's, killing the cow, but the person who runs the business and transports it and cooks it and offers it and cooks it and serves it. So what to do? So I said, well, what do you, if it came down to it, would you choose Krishna consciousness or your husband? And she said, I don't. Well, she said, I think he's a good person, but he's just, he's conditioned, he's misled. And then I told her about Prabhupada's wife, or Prabhupada's sister, whose husband was a drunkard. And now Baba Tarini, whom we call Pishima, she was very pure devotee, just like Prabhupada. And but she also was married to a guy who was addicted to alcohol. This is talk about being awkward, right? So she herself didn't, and she was a Vaishnavi, and Baba Tarini was her initiated name by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. So she was such a faithful wife. She didn't just renounce him and leave him, that she would, if somebody came to the door of their house and he was dead drunk, she would cover for him. She would say, "Oh, he's not feeling well. Why don't you come back later?" And so that's what she would do when her husband was dead drunk in the house. And so the husband, over time, saw how his wife was protecting him, from just completely losing any kind of reputation, because he was an alcoholic, but I guess he was doing it on the sly or something. And so that faithfulness to him changed him. He actually became so grateful to his wife that he eventually stopped drinking. So she changed him. Because I told this lady, I said, there's a verse in the 7th canto that the wife is meant to serve a husband, but not a husband who's fallen. And in the purport, Prabhupada defines fallen as somebody who's addicted to the 4 sinful activities: meat eating, intoxication, illicit sex, and gambling. But then I told her about Pishima, how she must have seen something that was rectifiable, that was corrigible, not incorrigible, in him, so she could change him, and she was right. So I told her, look, even though he's angry at you for not cooking meat anymore, you know, but he's respecting your choice at the same time. It's kind of like a, you know, it's a paradox. Then just, you know, be kind to him, and he doesn't mind that. Where is he now? Is he in the house? Oh yeah, he's in the other room, you know, and he knows that I'm on this Sangha, you know, on this Zoom Sangha, and he won't stop me. So I said, well, just because he respects that, that's something, you know. So just give it time, and just, you got to start somewhere. You're not gonna give up on him yet. So anyway, yeah. So that's very. Sometimes we're in awkward situations. Like even Bhishma and Drona, they were in the employ of the Kurus, right? They were on the bad guy side during the Kurukshetra war, but they were actually devotees too. So sometimes we're in very awkward situations, and we have to be very creative and prayerful, and think how we can still carry on our Krishna consciousness. Or Akrura, he was sent by Kamsa to bring Krishna and Balaram out of Vrindavan to go to the wrestling arena to fight the wrestler, to be killed, because Kamsa wanted to kill Krishna. So, Prabhupada starkly contrasts Vedic society to today's society, which considers the four sinful acts to be the primary necessities of life. Yeah. It's amazing. Yeah. What Prabhupada said, they think you don't get enough vitamins, right? If you protein. Yeah, he said vitamins in the purport, I think. What did he say? Anyway, yeah, they think you're missing some essential nutrient, right, if you don't eat meat. Let's see. Now, Prabhupada, like Narada, is exposing the great sin of animal killing, which ruins individual health, social health, environmental health. Yeah, way back in 1970, when Frances Moore LePay wrote Diet for a Small Planet. Remember that book? Yeah, and she was telling how, look, you can get so much more food out of an acre that you grow for humans than you do, you're trying to, they grow food for animals, and then they get such less return just by eating the meat. You have to use so much more land and water. So she was talking about the virtues of a vegetarian diet. Let's see. And then finally, Prabhupada, exposed, considers religion to be irreligion. Yeah. I remember when Prabhupada visited, I was in Pittsburgh, it was 1972, and Prabhupada was visiting us very briefly after he, let's see, was that before the road show or after the road show? He came, it was on his way to see the road show. Yeah, he flew into Pittsburgh. Then he stopped into the temple, and then he went to the Syria mosque. The road show was in a mosque that they had an auditorium where the Transcendental Rock Opera was being presented. And so, but before Prabhupada did that, he went across the street to our little temple on Ellsworth Avenue, and he went to see this Greek Orthodox bishop who we'd been cultivating, because he was Greek Orthodox, and he was pretty cool. He was very, we were obviously looking different, smelling different, sounding different, deity worship, diet, everything. But he was fascinated by us. So we said, well, look, sir, I forget his name, Bishop. Yeah, Bishop. Our spiritual master is going to come soon. So would you like to meet him? Oh, yeah. So then Rupanuga and a few GBCs ushered Prabhupada across the street into the person's house. Prabhupada sits down in his little parlor. The bishop thought it would be just a nice little chat, with the Swami. And Prabhupada, he just immediately, what did he say? Jesus Christ said, "Thou shalt not kill." Why do Christians simply kill? So, man, he didn't know what to say, right? He just said, well, why is it sinful, right? He just wanted to know. So, Prabhupada said that Jesus Christ also talking about, the first and great commandment is thou shalt love thy God, all thy heart, soul, and mind. And so not killing is one item of knowledge, one item of love is that you don't kill, right? And these are also children of God, the animals and the fish and the fowl and all that, from Genesis. Very interesting. So, in other words, you're saying that the bishop was saying, I wasn't in the room, but Rupanuga told us later, he was briefing us, and so you're saying that that every body, everyone has a soul. We believe that only humans have souls. And so Prabhupada said, oh, no, everybody has a soul, but everybody's embodied differently, therefore there's different levels of consciousness. And so the bishop, he had heard about reincarnation, so he said, oh, that's very interesting. I always thought that reincarnation, in the different species meant that every species has a different kind of soul. He's conflating body and soul, right? Every species has a different kind of soul. And that understanding is, if you look in the Gita, that's also is in the mode of passion, right? Understand for everybody, there's a different kind of. So because he was not envious of Prabhupada, because he was actually sincerely inquiring, he actually made a lot of advancement just from that little visit. So, and then on his disappearance bed, Srila Prabhupada quoted a famous verse from the Bhagavatam about meat eating. Well, not about meat eating, but at the end of the verse, there's a little section of meat eating. Famous verse. And the context was the Kaviraj, who was giving Prabhupada the medicine. I think maybe I mentioned this before, but Prabhupada, he was always trying to get Prabhupada to take his medicine, but Prabhupada wasn't a very good patient. He would maybe try some medicine once. And this is an Ayurvedic Kaviraj. He was good. He was really good. And he had powerful, potent medicine he would cook up himself. So the Kaviraj said, you must take this medicine. This is when Prabhupada practically had no body left. He was trying to revive him. And so in 77, so this medicine could save you. And then Prabhupada said, this verse. Nivrittatarshaya rapagiyamana davoshadhatstrupramano virama kauttama shloka gunanavada puman virajeta vinapashubna. This is the real medicine Prabhupada's telling him. Glorification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is performed in the Parampara system, that it is conveyed from spiritual master to disciple. Such glorification is relished by those no longer interested in the false temporary glorification of this cosmic manifestation. Descriptions of the Lord are the right medicine. That's the line. Bhavoshadhat. Bhavoshadhat. are the right medicine for the conditioned soul undergoing repeated birth and death. Therefore, who will cease hearing such glorification of the Lord except, and this is the last vina pushukna, except a butcher or one who is killing his own self? So a butcher is killing, obviously, is not going to be interested in this because he's such a meathead. He's such a low consciousness person. Or one who is killing who doesn't want to hear about Krishna. We're killing our chances for eternal life. This is Shukadev to Parikshit Maharaj. Yeah. Okay, so I think I will read the verse again. If you have any questions or comments, please raise your hand. The great sage Narada continued, "My dear King Prachani Barhishat, like you, King Paranjan also became implicated in so many desires. Thus he worshipped demigods, forefathers, and social leaders with various sacrifices, which were all very ghastly because they were inspired by the desire to kill animals." Prabhu.
Thank you for the nice class. Nice, beautiful class. Very sobering, and it's a nice. You did that. You went into the slaughterhouse for Krishna's service. That's pretty intense. Wow. I was going to say that I had two comments. One is that my god brother Krishna Charan Prabhu, who lives in El Paso, on the border of Juarez, which Juarez was at one point the murder capital of the world. There were more murders happening in Juarez than anywhere else in the world.
I remember that, yeah.
And he was, because he's there, and it's kind of, it's the talk of the town in El Paso because it's dangerous.
Yeah.
And he was saying that the mafia would train the killers by having them work at slaughterhouses.
Wow.
One of the things he told me. And my second comment was that, you mentioned.
That's a direct connection there, huh?
Yeah. To desensitize them to doing it, because they would do a lot of like really horrific type of murders in Juarez and stuff, like example type things. But another thing is that you were speaking of Pishima, and you were comparing it to your your student, and I was thinking that Pishima is a pure devotee, and she's Srila Prabhupada's sister, and she was she's raised by Gormo Ande, and she's such a pure devotee, and obviously some type of associate of Prabhupada, very intimate associate of Prabhupada, but we might not be on the same level of strength to not become contaminated by, that association of, a partner or something. So it's just something I was going to throw out there that, she was like on a very, very high level, obviously. And so, for others, it might not be the same because, she grew up in a Vaishnava family, and what to speak of a Vaishnava family, but Prabhupada's family.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, well, at least I told her, at least the guy, at least her husband, the Muslim husband, because they were in one of the stans. One of those, Tajikistan, and one of them, and which are majority Muslim, a lot of those stans. So I told her, look, if he's allowing you, if he doesn't want to lose you, and he knows you're becoming a devotee, but it's just kind of like, he had some resentment. She wouldn't cook meat for him, but still he didn't want to lose her. So I just kept telling her, this, by you're associating with the devotees and then him associating with you, it'll change him over time. But of course, she has to be, there is a line that she can't, there has to be some bright red line, which she would have to give him up if it got too bad. Yes.
I was just going to point out that, in the story of Mirabai, she just ran away and went to be with Krishna for the same situation.
Yeah, well, they brought, she was. Keep?
Didn't she kill?
No, they tried to, at least in the movie. Remember the movie we saw?
Yeah.
And at least in the Bollywood version, they gave her some poison. And it was just like Prahlad Maharaj, they tried to poison him too, but it had no effect. So she drank it, and then she just looked at them, because there was somebody, this, I don't know, who knows if this is Bollywood or some history or whatever, but it was like the priest was saying, if you're really pure, you won't be affected by this. And it was like drinking hemlock, right? And so and she drank it, and then she just dropped the cup. It was very dramatic, the way Hema Malini, the actress who was playing her, who is a friend of ISKCON's, by the way, dropped it and then looked straight at the priest. Just challenged him. And then they couldn't do anything to her. It's like, oh, wow,
It's like the witch trials, right? If the witch drowns, oh, you weren't a witch, but she didn't. She lived, yeah.
Yeah. And then I think the husband killed himself because she was married. She was royalty, and they got her married, but the guy was always trying to, make her interested in him, but she was just singing songs about Krishna. That was her beloved. And I think when that happened, I think in the movie, he took his life. So how do we get on that? I forget.
They're about Tarini.
Yeah.
Oh, Baba Tarini.
Because in the movie, her husband, Mirabai's husband, wanted her to cook meat. She ran away.
Yeah, so we're not on the level of Mirabai or Pishima, so we have to know how to protect ourselves. Prabhupada told Dayananda, my godbrother Dayananda, I don't know if you know him. Anyway, he was married to, I forget, Dayananda and, I forget, anyway, they were married for years, and then they started the LA. They weren't the first in LA, but they developed it. And so then Dayananda asked Swamiji, they were still calling him Swamiji, what do you, my parents don't really like what I'm doing. He'd been in the Marines, and he was a computer guy. He worked for IBM, that's right. And he was a responsible guy, And then he joined the Hare Krishna movement, and the parents didn't really like it. So, they want me to come home, and visit and see them. So Prabhupada said, yes, you can visit your parents. And then, whatever they say to you, you just say yes, yes, yes. But if they're telling you, something that's going to hurt your Krishna consciousness, you can really think, no, no, no. You say yes, yes, that's all right. But then don't do what they say if it's going to hurt your Krishna consciousness. So we have to have that internal sense of what's favorable and not favorable.
Raghunath Das Goswami, I just told that one example. He was acting like he was, but internally he was just thinking about how he's going to get to Lord Chaitanya.
That's true. Okay. Time for prasad. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hari Bol.
Thank you, that was a good class.